Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about getting highly targeted Facebook likes to your page because this is going to drive everything and you want to make sure you do this part right. And what I mean by that is you don't just want a like on your page for the sake of a like. So buying likes on places like Fiverr and Facebook boosts and things like that, anything to where you buy likes outside of Facebook ads is definitely going to work against you because Facebook has something called EdgeRank. It's an algorithm where what you post on your Facebook page won't show up on people's news feeds unless the engagement level is high. So let's say you have 1,000 people who like your page, and out of that 1,000 people who like your page, 800 are just bots from countries like Bangladesh, India, the standard ones who are just will never engage with your page. They won't ever post a comment. They won't ever like a post itself. So outside of the initial liking your page, that's where the engagement ends. So you don't want that. So back to my example, if 800 of them are the bots, that means that Facebook is going to initially show your post to just a widespread test sample size. And if that engagement level is low, then they're going to stop showing your post in people's news feeds because they determined that no one cares about it. So if you have all these crappy likes, that just increases your chances where it's going to have no engagement and then your post dies. Okay, so you'd rather not have those likes at all because it's working against you. So what we're going to do is talk about how to counteract that and learn from some of my mistakes that I made, actually, because I made those mistakes initially. So right now you're looking at the Siberian Husky page I have, and what you want to do, and I'll go through an example as well, but basically what you want to do is target the countries that are, for me, it's English-speaking countries. I guess depending on your niche, you can go outside of that, but you typically want to target English-speaking and stick to the countries that you know will have high engagement rates, and I'll talk about those countries in a minute. But for the most part, when you first start out, it's very easy to get cheap likes because the number of people because you're starting from zero. So as you gain likes on your page, that audience size of people who really care is getting smaller. So as that sample size gets smaller, your cost per like will go up because you're going to be showing your ad to people who aren't necessarily as interested, but they may like down the road, if that makes sense. But as an example, you can see I've created this one ad here. I'm just showing you that it's possible to get, and I've even had ads that go under this, so it would say 0.00, but for the sake of this demo, you can just see it's just a little page here. It just says, "Do you love Siberian Huskies? Click like if you do." And this is what people will see in their newsfeed. And you can mess around with split testing, mobile, right side, and desktop. I say just throw it up on there and see, and just because people are going to come from all over the place, and it's not worth your effort really to split test that part of it. I've done it before, and it's infinitesimal in my opinion as far as the click-through rate and everything like that. So you can see right here with this campaign, we got 35,000 plus likes. Oh, you can go back to that. And the reach, you can see, reached 500,000 people. And the frequency, frequency is pretty much the number of times your ad is seen served to each person. So you want to get this as low to 1, close to 1 as possible, because once you start getting 2's not too bad. Honestly, anything under 8 isn't awful, but I always try to keep mine as close to 1 as possible. If I start getting over 3, what I do is I reduce the budget. So your daily spend correlates to the frequency. So in other words, you want to look at 3 things really. You want to look at the frequency, you want to look at your daily spend, and you want to look at the potential audience. So with 6 million as a potential audience, I know that I can spend a ton a day and not really get too crazy with reaching the same people over and over again. Also keep in mind that just because it says 6.2 million people doesn't mean that all 6.2 million are going to be on Facebook in a 24-hour period. I don't really have any data to tell you what the numbers are, but it certainly won't be anything close to that. You'd be lucky if you can reach 6.2 million, over a week or a month, because not everyone logs into Facebook all the time. But basically what you want to do is, in order to tweak these ads, is if frequency is going up, reduce your daily spend. So I usually start out I try to spend like $5 a day as a daily budget. But if I see an ad's performing well and I'm getting good click-through rate and the the cost per like is still relatively cheap, I'll go ahead and I'll boost that up to maybe $10, and I'll watch the frequency. If the frequency starts to dip, or excuse me, starts to increase, getting around 2 plus to 3, then I'll dial back the daily budget spend back to 5 or maybe somewhere in between, maybe $7. Okay, and then you don't have to spend $5 a day. That's just what I do. I've spent as much as $100 a day on some campaigns. It just depends on the audience size and what you're willing to spend. As a rule of thumb, for an audience size of about 500,000 to a million, I don't really like to go over $5 a day, because once you do, that frequency is just going to go up anyway, because the audience size isn't that big. So you can kind of use the rule of thumb, maybe $5 for every million people of the audience size, and adjust from there. I mean, that's not in stone by any means, but you can adjust from that. All right, so this is really showing an example of some mistakes I made, though, because I was targeting lots of different countries that I probably shouldn't have. I even went as far as to target India, just because I was trying to get cheap page per likes right off the bat. And I wasn't really thinking about edge rank as much until later on down the road. I've since changed this, and engagement's still really high. But yes, like I was talking about earlier in this video, you're going to get cheaper likes, but it's not worth it. Honestly, I wish I could delete some of these likes that don't ever engage with my page, because it's not worth it. Now, fast forward to some new ads I've done, and I'm still getting cheap ones. Here's one for 0.02. And keep in mind, this audience is getting flooded with Husky ads all the time. So, and if you're getting that, it's pretty awesome. So this is what I've got so far, and I'm just targeting Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, Netherlands, because I found that they're in my AdSense account, the revenue they generate is actually very high compared to the audience size, and United States. And you can play with this. And age range, I've just found that that's great for my target demographic. As far as what I'm after, you can even go male and female, and I've split test male versus females for different breeds. So, for example, Yorkies doesn't do great with males, but it does very well with females. So those are the kind of the split tests you want to do. Interests, and then you can just go through and go through all, type in whatever you're after. So I just typed in everything related to Husky, especially like rescues, because those people are super passionate. And then a big thing you want to do is make sure that, at least for me, English speaking, because that kind of weeds out a lot of the bots and the bogus content, bogus likes that you don't want. And then you don't want to show your ad. Obviously, this is a default setting, but just so you know, you don't want to show your ad to people who already like your page, because that's a complete waste. All right, and so you can see my frequencies at 1.45. I'm spending, I think, $10 a day on this one, yeah, and audience size is 2.8 million. So you can see, that's pretty much on par with what I was saying earlier. Now, in order to really get into your audience, there's a great tool here called Audience Insights. Oops. And I'll just start with, well, I'll look at people connected to my page. And what you can do is, and you can do this, I understand you probably won't have a page starting off, but I'm just going to put this in here. So you can just see your demographics, and this tool is pretty amazing. So you can see that people who like your page based on age and gender. For me, it's obviously mostly women for this page. The age range goes pretty strong from 18 to 34, and then tapers off a little bit, 35 to 44, and picks back up in 45 to 54 range. Pretty interesting. You can see lifestyles, the relationship status, but for the purpose of this, I wouldn't split test anything deeper than gender and age, and then keeping the variables that we just talked about with the countries and English language, if that's your thing. Okay, so I would only split test as far as men and women and gender. Okay, and like if you're doing research and you want to find out, let's say you're looking at cats, so you want to find people interested in cats, okay? And maybe see if like cat rescues one. Blind cat rescue is another one. That was big cat rescue. I don't want to use that because that's most likely things like lions and stuff. And you can, these interests, they usually correlate to like a Facebook page. So if you have one you're not really sure about, and it comes up in the search results, go ahead and go in Facebook directly and just search for it, and you can pull that up. But as you start to populate these interests, you can start to see these are going to change. So right now we have 70% of women that like these interests. And put a couple more in here. Cat, more rescue, Siamese cat rescue, black cat rescue. Okay. And you can look at the age ranges again. So I would contemplate doing some split testing of 18 to 34, maybe into the 44 range, maybe 18 to 44 to get most of your audience. Only 30% of men are liking, so I definitely split test men and women on this one. And then you start putting in other countries too, if you want to target outside of the United States, Canada, United Kingdom. When I first started this, I knew I was doing a viral site, so I just figured I don't care if you're 13 or not. I don't care if, you know, essentially I just thought, hey, you're just a click to me. But really, you just want to look at, you want to see who's engaging with your stuff. And, well, you can't target lower than 13 on the insights, but I think it's still worthwhile targeting to 13-year-olds, because just because they're 13 doesn't mean they're not going to click and watch these videos. They actually could be even more likely. They're just not going to be one of the people who are going to buy products on your page if you ever get to that point, with things like Amazon and Teespring. But they are still worthwhile in terms of a click to your website and then a view, which is just going to increase your AdSense revenue. All right, so I hope that made sense for you. Okay, so let's say you're ready to start an ad. So you click to create an ad. What you want to do is you want to start on page likes. Okay, make this really simple. And then just find your page. So I just go to that cat page I had started in one of the previous videos. And you don't, this image actually isn't too bad. But what you want to do is, you know, you can browse, you can search, excuse me, on stock images and find something like that, and then just start clicking through ones that you think that are pretty good. As a rule of thumb, eyes always work really well. So if you have something with eyes looking, it captures people's attention when it's looking at you. Zoomed in eyeballs always do well, regardless. There's a really good one. Just play with it. This is where the split testing comes in. I usually split test a lot with images because banner blindness is huge on Facebook. So an image that does well this week will taper off possibly next week, especially if your frequency is getting higher than you'd like. So you need to dial the ad spend back and then change out your images and see how the click-through rate does. You can add 2 more images. I'm just doing some testing here. And simply, just for the text here, you just want to put usually a question. Do you like? Where do you put love? Love cats? Question mark. Click, and I put like in all caps. If you do! Exclamation point. Very simple, and then just shows you a demo sample of what your ad would look like here. See advanced options, nothing that you need to worry about there. Headline, you can leave whatever your page is, and it's only showing in the right column ad anyway. So you can actually change this to a question mark too. Do you love cats? Click like. Okay, so that one I don't have enough room for that. Sometimes you just need to play around with it. Maybe don't use a question mark, or just only use a question mark. Let's see. Let's try that. Do you love cats? I'll just leave it that way. Okay, now getting into the targeting. This is the key thing. So I would go and I'd insert. This is just me personally, but I found the most bang for the buck is with these countries: United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, Netherlands. New Zealand's okay. South Africa's okay. You can really get by on just these 5 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, these are the key ones I would really focus on. For age, let's just leave it wide open right now. If I were doing this for real, what I would do is create one generic one like I'm doing right now, and then I would do some with age splits based on the audience insights I looked at. And then I would do one for men, one for women. For right now, I'm just going to leave this as all. I'm going to go to English and then just select English all. Interests. This is where you're just going to start like banging out cats and things like that. And people have already created pages. You know, I love cats. And if they've already liked this page, typically they will like a multitude of these kind of pages because they're not really thinking, oh, this guy's marketing to me. They're just thinking, oh, I love cats. I love fat cats. Who doesn't love a fat cat? I love black cats. And then here on the right, you can see your audience size. So it's 28 million people right now that love cats. I'm going to get rid of this one here for the generalized cats because I don't think it's as strong as these. So yeah, I dialed it down quite a bit. You can keep adding more. Let's see. I love cats. What else do we have? I love my cat. Cat rescue. Black cat rescue sanctuary or blind cat rescue. Okay, you get the point with that. You just keep banging all those out, as many as you can that you think are relevant and very passionate to whatever you're going after. So this is by default only people not connected to I Love Cats. Set your budget for whatever you feel comfortable with. I usually do $5, but that's up to you. And for the ad set name, I usually put a little more information in here. So I'm just going to put main countries, all, that means for gender, and all ages. I'll just clarify this, but I usually know all means all gender, all ages for me. Let's double check everything. Yeah, looks good. All right, so at this point, you would just go ahead and place your order. Now, since we're going to be split testing, you don't want to hit continue. You want to hit create similar ad because that's just going to make things a lot easier for you. And you can use the power editor for this too, but it's not worth learning, and you can do the same thing for the purpose of what we're working on right now. So this basically just created a clone of what you just created, and this is where you're going to want to split test. So now I might just do men, okay? Leave everything else the same. The only difference is I just picked men. You want to click this for create new ad set, and then I'm just going to put, instead of all gender, I'm going to change that to men, okay? And then I'm going to place order. I'm going to do the same thing, create similar ad. Come back down here, and then I'm going to select women. And just create new ad set, and then just change this from men to women, place order. And then you can do it again. Let's say I wanted to target based on age now too. So let's look at the audience insights we were looking at. So I'm just going to worry about women between the ages of 18 and geez, I'm going to go all the way to 54 with it. Let's say 18 to 54. Even though I know a lot of old ladies like cats, but they may not be liking them on Facebook as much. So let's do that. 18 to, what is it, 54. Women. And I would put women 18 to 54. And then I would place that order like that. And then if you wanted to create more, you could do the same thing. If you wanted to target 54 plus, if you wanted to target men in those ranges as well. Because if you look here, you see men predominantly 18 to 24 and 25 to 34. So I might do a split test from just men between 18 and 34, just to see how it does. All right. Hopefully that was clear on how I do the targeting. And then when you're done with that, just watch your ads and see how they do. And like I said, watch the frequency, and you can come dial it in. Look at it. You'd come back and look at this. Whoops. You would look at everything we were just talking about here. Look at your reach and your frequency and your click-through rate. If the click-through rate is not doing so well, I would just turn that image off. So you're going to get a lot of split tests with different images, and you'd be surprised at how an image is the determining factor on your click-through rate and your likes. And just because and don't think you're smarter than Facebook and the ad system. I've put some pictures on there and I was like, oh, this ad is amazing. The picture is great, but another one that was uglier got a ton more likes. It made no sense to me, but the proof is in the data and not in what you think. Just remember that. Good click-through rate to me is anything over 2%. But with this kind of stuff early on in the passion, you're going to see stuff like 12, 15%. The niche I'm in, honestly, the dog niche is pretty saturated, but I'm still doing well with it. So that just shows you that there's a lot of opportunity to do this kind of thing in different niches if you pick the right one. Let me see if there's anything else I want to cover for ads. That's really about it. So like I said, you're going to be creating these ads, highly targeted in these countries, and don't be afraid if you get 0.05 cents per like. It's not awful. It's really not. What I would do is just continuously adjust this targeting. Adjust the targeting with different images. Create multitudes of different ad sets with different targeting, and just start eliminating. Just go ahead and turn off the ads for ones that aren't performing well. You can just click the button here and deactivate it, and then just keep the winners. This is a constant thing to tweak Facebook ads. Even months after setting up pages and doing ads, I constantly still go in, maybe change images out. Targeting is going to kind of stay the same for the most part, but you can still play around with it. There's no harm in still trying to improve it. Alright, in the next video I am going to talk about actually building your website using WordPress. We're going to talk about where to host it, the different themes to use, and yeah, we're going to get right into it. So go ahead and start creating your Facebook ads, and I'll see you in the next video.